My topic is processing of milk. Introduction. Milk is the most complete food in the diet of humans. It is due to the nutrients and fundamental energies it provides us. The composition of this depends on different factors such as production practices, handling, feeding, etc. From it, you can obtain a great diversity of dairy products such as cheese, cream, butter, yogurt, ice cream, etc., whose characteristics may be affected depending on the processes to which it is subjected. Therefore, it is important to understand the processes that require such as pasteurization, homogenization, and skimming. It is also important to know that milk and dairy products can cause self-transmitted diseases. That is why it is important to ensure the safety of milk and milk products by applying appropriate hygiene practices from the production of raw materials to the final product. Food hygiene covers all conditions and measures necessary to ensure food safety and fitness at all stages of the food chain, including primary production, the processing, storage, and distribution of a food for final consumption. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about consumption and production statistics. World food consumption. At the global level, there is a greater demand of grains and cereals than for milk, meat, roots, and tubers, and as the last are vegetables. World milk consumption. The countries with the greatest wealth, such as North America, especially the United States and Canada, Western Europe and Oceania, especially Australia and New Zealand, have the highest consumption of dairy products per capita worldwide. In Central America, the country that consumes the most dairy products per capita is Costa Rica. With regard to production, North America and Europe produce 100% of the dairy they occupy. That is to say, they cover the demand for milk. Oceania produces 236% of the milk they occupy. That is, they produce more than 136% of what it is necessary. This 136% they export to other countries. With respect to South America, it produces 100%, and Central America, Africa, and Southeast Asia are deficit because they produce 70% of what they need. Therefore, they are mandatory importers because they don't meet the demand for milk. World production of cow's milk. The largest producer of cow's milk worldwide is the United States, followed by India, which is the #1 producer of buffalo milk. Then Russia, China, Brazil, New Zealand, Mexico, Argentina, Canada, and Ukraine. In Latin America, countries such as Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina are the largest producers of milk, and the sector is more developed. In Central America, the countries with the highest volume of production and pasteurized milk are Honduras and Nicaragua. Proportion of milk processed by industry. The country with the highest percentage of milk processed by the industry is Argentina with 90%. The rest of the milk is not processed. This means that people are aware and care about eating foods that have gone through process that allow them to lower the microbial load. In countries like Guatemala and Honduras, only 20% of the milk is processed by the industry. This means that it's very likely that milk can generate some disease such as listeria. Normally processed cheese have about 1 to 2% salt, and artisanal cheeses 6% to stop the growth of bacteria. Dairy products in Latin America are of very good quality but have safety problems. Normally, milk contains 3 million UFC in Latin America, and in the United States, less than 100,000 UFC. Now I'm going to talk about milk and its processing. Milk is a substance that is secreted by the mammary glands of female mammals for feeding to offspring. There are different milks of mammal species that are used by humans as food, and these are cattle, goats, and buffalo. Milk is a complete food because of the 20 amino acids contains 18 and 9 of these are essential. For the industry, milk should be the milk secretion that doesn't contain colostrum and is the product of the complete milking of healthy cows. This milk must contain at least 8.25% non-fatty solids and at least 3.25% fat. When it is said to be from a full milking, it means that it contains more solids such as fat. Now I'm going to talk about milk quality. For the milk to be of quality, the animal must be in good condition, that it doesn't have any disease. It must perform good milking practices, manage the temperature of the milk and the frequency of shipping. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about milking. There are three types of milking. The first is manual milking, then mechanical milking, and the last is automatic milking. Usually, the milk of the mechanical milking is of better quality than the manual. When milking milk is classified into three classes: Class A, Class B, and Class C. Class A milk is milk that contains less than 300,000 CFU per milliliter and less than 0.16 of ethical. Class B milk is milk that contains less than 301,000 to 800,000 CFU per milliliter and less than 0.16 of ethical. And Class C milk contains more than 800,000 CFU per milliliter and more than 0.16 of ethical. Now I'm going to talk about temperature management. The milk inside the cow is about 33 and 34 degrees Celsius. After milk, it must be cooled in 3 hours to 4 degrees Celsius. In refrigeration, the milk lasts 48 hours. Now I'm going to talk about components of milk. Milk is made up of 87% water and 13 total solids. Among the total solids are fatty solids and non-fatty solids. Most fatty solids are triglycerides, according for 98 to 99%, and non-fatty solids are those like proteins, especially casein, which accounts for 80%, and whey proteins, which are lactalbumin and lactoglobulin. Minerals like calcium, potassium, and phosphorus, and lactose. Now I'm going to talk about the physical chemical composition of cow's milk. In Latin America, cow's milk has about 87% water, a 3.6 to a 3.8 of fat, a 3.1 to a 3.3 of protein, a 4.8 to a 4.9 of lactose, and a 0.8 of minerals. The stage of the fat is in emulsion in water, that of the proteins is suspension or colloidal solution, and that of the lactose and minerals in real solutions. Now I'm going to talk about characteristics of the milk. Appearance. Milk is generally opaque due to the presence of solids. The color of this can vary from white to yellow depending on the content of carotenoids in fat. The milk is usually white in the dry season and yellow in the rainy season. And the milk of the cow Jersey is the one that transloca more carotenoids. That is to say, it contains from a 4.2 to a 4.5. Now I'm going to talk about density. The density of milk is between 1.020 and 9 to 1.032 grams per cubic centimeter depending on its composition. As we know, the fat density is 0.93 and the water density of 1. Then if the density is below this range, it is because it can be a milk high in fat or it can be a milk with added water. I'm going to talk about freezing point. The freezing point helps us to check the adulteration by water added in the milk. Normal whole milk has its freezing point between minus 0.49 and minus 0.55. In the industry, its freezing point is minus 0.53. Acidity. Fresh milk has a pH of 6.5 to 6.7. In the dairy industry, the acidity of milk is measured by titration. In plants, it is not advisable to receive very acidic milk because it will not be possible to pasteurize it because proteins precipitate with heat. And the acidity of milk is between 0.14 and 0.16. Milk processes. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the process that are given to milk. Number 1, skim. Skimming is the process that separates fat from milk by difference in densities. Skim milk will be more efficient the less fat the skim milk has. From the skim, you can cream and skim milk. Skim milk should have less than 0.5% fat. The separation of fat and milk is obtained by centrifugal force and by the difference in densities between milk cream and skim milk. Number 2, pasteurization. It is a heat treatment that is given at a sufficiently high temperature, which it is maintained for a definite time to eliminate all pathogenic bacteria. The main objectives of pasteurization are to eliminate pathogenic bacteria, reduce the population of deteriorating microorganisms, and inactivated enzymes that break down milk.